You're listening to the 95 Podcast from the team at 95Network, where we host conversations specifically designed to support leaders in small and mid-sized churches. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the 95 Podcast. My name is Carolee Culpepper, and I have something really exciting today. I'm actually here with two of our wonderful people on the 95 Network team. I've got Jon Sanders, who is our director of coaching, and then I've got Travis Stevens, who is our membership director and also a coach. So,
hey, what's up, Carolee?
How's it going, guys?
Good morning. Hey.
Good.
How is everybody? Anything
wonderful,
exciting going on in anybody's life?
Well, it got above freezing in South Dakota yesterday, so we're excited about that.
Oh my gosh, I don't know how you do it. I really don't. It gets below 30 here, and I am not okay with it.
You may hear chickens outside of my recording. I just thought about this. Like, my neighbors have chickens that tend to hang out in my yard in the mornings, and so if you hear chickens, that's what's going on.
Do you charge them rent? Like, do they have to pay you an egg?
Oh my goodness, I wish we could. Yeah.
Do they give you any of the eggs though? Seriously?
No.
Oh man.
No, it's not a great relationship.
Oh, gosh. Well, today I think that we're going to be talking about the coaching that 95 Network does and what you guys do with that, how it helps pastors, and how we can help you if you're listening and you're a pastor and this is something that you're interested in. So, Jon, I'll let you kick it off and just kind of tell everybody what 95 Network does as far as with coaching and maybe how you got started on that too.
Yeah, well, let me approach it maybe this way by just saying, here's one of the realities that so many pastors find in ministry is that it can be a very lonely place. Mm-hmm. Leadership can be a lonely thing. And then just something about pastoring, man, it's a lonely place for many pastors, especially our tribe, kind of the small church pastors. Many times we don't have access to some of the resources that a larger church might be able to have, potentially access for their pastors with different resources. And so what can happen for a normal pastor is for them to just feel like, man, I'm all alone. I'm making some tough decisions that, don't please everyone. I don't even know if I'm making the right decision. I'm tired, I'm worn out, and I don't have anyone that I can really go and be honest with and be truthful about how I'm feeling, what's going on in my life. For many pastors, their leadership board is not necessarily a safe place to unpack that. Their staff is not necessarily a safe place to come in and unpack this. And certainly the congregation as a whole is just not the right group of people for the pastor to surround himself with or herself with and say, hey, this is where I'm at and where I'm struggling. So I believe coaching is a great solution for that, for a pastor to have a coach or to be in a group where there's, multiple people being coached, or a mastermind type setting where it is a safe environment for a pastor just to unpack everything, whether it's the church side of it, whether it's the personal side of it, whether it's, the professional, financial, whatever. We can talk about it here, and it's a safe place. So for me, coaching has been a tremendous safe place over the years for me to have a group of people to unpack some of that stuff with. And I'm sure Travis could say the same thing. And so we want to provide that through 95 Network to the pastors that are a part of our audience and our tribe here.
That's awesome.
Just to kind of collaborate or what you said there with pastors feeling lonely, I asked a question in our membership group this past week, and I just said, hey, how many friends do you have within the church that you serve? And it was crazy because overwhelmingly, most pastors don't have any real friends within the church they serve. And I thought that's so crazy to think about, but it's so sort of sad too, that the people that we sort of, lead and we shepherd, we don't necessarily find friends there. And so again, with what Jon's saying, like, coaching provides that. And I've seen that within certainly my own life as well. I mean, that's one part of coaching, and it's a really important part is the community that you find there and being able to share your struggles and what you're thinking. So that's a huge part of it. And then the other part of it is, of course, that you're also learning things, which is always great as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
I want to tag on to something Travis tagged on to what I said, if I can. Is that okay?
That's all right. We can play ping pong. No big deal.
Yeah. So, that's true. A lot of pastors do not have close friendships within their church, but I want to make a really powerful distinction. And that is this: a coach is not necessarily your friend. I mean, you can have a friendly relationship with your coach, but I was blessed over the years to have some really close friendships in our church, and people that we hung out with, they were in our inner circle, and we did, we traveled with them. Our kids hung out together. So we were blessed to have that level of deep friendship with some people in our church. But even then, there are some things I just can't talk about with that, even those closest friends. And at times when I tried, I mean, I could take you back to some stories sitting around the campfire with some of our friends having kind of a very knockdown, drag out, heavy conversation about church leadership stuff that at the end of the day, they didn't really need to be speaking into, to be honest with you. And where that would have been a much better environment to have that conversation with my coach or in a coaching group. So there's a distinction between having close friends, which is good. And we endorse that. We want that for our pastors. But a coach is not that. A coach is a coach, and a coach will get up in your business in a way that a friend may not necessarily have the ability to do. So
I feel like I'm hearing you saying it's a different kind of accountability, right?
Absolutely.
So have you guys each been the recipient of coaching before you became a coach?
Go ahead, Travis.
Yeah, for sure. I've been through different parts, but for most of my sort of time in church over the last several years, I've been an executive pastor. And so one of the things that I did is that, I want to learn as much as I can. And I want to learn from people who've sort of already done it. I don't want to make the same mistakes again. I learned a long time ago, it's much better to learn from others' mistakes than my own. And so several years ago, actually, I just had a sort of a friend with a relationship with an executive pastor who's at a larger church than mine that they had been through those stages. They had seen those things. And so I reached out to him about coaching and begun a coaching relationship there. And he coached me for about a year. And then since then, I've been able to be a part of other sort of building relationships with other coaches and mentors. And it's been great. Met Jon, and so we've been a part of that as well. And it's been a wonderful thing. And it saved me. It saved me a ton of time. It saved the church a ton of money. It's all of those things. I mean, it's been a wonderful experience. It's an investment, but it's an investment that truly, in my experience and from the people that I talk to who invest in coaching, every one of them would say like it's well worth it.
Yeah. My story with coaching would be this. I always, as a pastor, felt I got into ministry young, and I did not have a full degree. Well, I had a degree. It was in fire science. It took me 5 years to get a 2-year associate's degree in fire science. So you talk about feeling, that's to learn how to put out fire, right? Seriously. You talk about feeling unequipped or overwhelmed with the weight of pastoral leadership. I had no clue what I was doing. So that always drove me to this place of hunger to learn and to grow. So I've always surrounded myself with mentors of some kind in my life. But I want to make a distinction. I've had free mentors, and you get what you pay for,
That's
much
right.
of the time. I've had coaches that have required something of me financially, whether it was you're going to come and spend some time with me, and it's on you to spend the money for the airplane ticket and the hotel to come and hang out with me for a weekend. There's a charge to that. I've invested into that kind of coaching. And more recently, in the last few years, I have invested heavily into some very high-end coaching for myself, and it has been transformational. So there's, here's one of my frustrations. Everyone's a coach these days. We hear about coaching. It's good news and bad news. The good news is anybody can jump in. The bad news is there's a lot of people calling themselves coaching and providing what they're calling coaching for other people. And then some are walking away going, well, that wasn't very effective. And so one thing I would just challenge our listeners with is there's a huge distinction between what you get for free and what you actually, like Travis said, invest in and have some of your own, skin in the game. It's a night and day difference. But yes, I have invested literally thousands and thousands of dollars into my own coaching, and my life is in such a healthier, better place today as a result of it.
That's great. That's wonderful. How did you guys get involved in coaching for 95 Network?
I think we all have our own Dale stories, right? Like,
You know what? He's not even here to take up for himself, is he?
yeah. Well, let's embellish those stories a little bit. So Dale and I got connected through a podcast that I have, the Small Town Big Church podcast. We were serving similar people, small churches, in that tribe. So somewhere in there, he and I got connected. I think I had him as a guest on my show. He had me as a guest on this show. And somewhere along the line, I invited him to come up to South Dakota and do a little pheasant hunting. And on that trip a few years ago, that's when he talked to me more seriously about, hey, we'd love to have you as a part of our team. And, he saw what I was doing in the coaching space with pastors at that time and just said, would you come on and be a part of our coaching team here at 95 Network? So I've been here with 95 Network for a few years now in that capacity.
That's great. Travis, what about you?
Yeah, it's kind of similar because it all started with Jon and Dale going pheasant hunting and finding out that we were running a membership course for pastors. And we said, hey, 95 Network has a membership. We have a membership. What if we just combine those? And so it was really, that was the start of it, is the sort of our relationship. And then just through that, he found out, yeah, I do coaching too. I've been doing coaching for a few years for specifically small town pastors, rural church pastors, but loved being able to do that. And so that's how we got started.
And can I just say something to that real quick? I just want to give a shout out to Dale, even though I'm not picking on him, and I should be because he's not here to defend himself. But one thing that I want to call out is just the humility in that, of being able, and really Travis and myself as well, just being able to say, hey, look, it's not about a label or a brand that's on it. Like, let's work together. Our ultimate aim is to serve pastors. And so,
that's right.
Yeah, let's merge our membership together so that we're serving our community better than trying to each do our own separate thing. And it's been a great partnership to work together with 95 Network like that.
I think that's one of the great things about 95 Network is the team is built from people who are really experts in their field and are willing to come together to, for the main goal. And I think that's what works, about our team, and one of its major strengths.
Yeah, for sure.
So, talking about the coaching for 95 Network, let's just kind of quickly go through what 95 Network offers for pastors as far as coaching goes and what that looks like.
I'll cover two, and then Travis, I'll let you cover two of the other options that are there right now. And depending on when you're listening to this is always evolving. So I just want to throw that out there. Like, this is definitely time-stamped in history right now because we're growing as an organization. And, if you're listening to this a few years from now, I promise you, we've got even better things to offer than where we are currently. But if you're one of those listeners that listen every time we drop an episode, here's what we've got from a coaching standpoint. Our first option for pastors is what we call our growth engines. It's a program that's 6 months long. It's built around the core content that we bring to our one-day conferences. And so it meets once a month. It's what I call is kind of an entry-level coaching package for someone who's maybe never been coached. They're really just working on some of the basics in their church, trying to get things figured out. And so the content that we cover in that is fantastic. You get access to all of those videos. You have time to watch them on your own before our call that we jump on once a month as a group. And then we just talk about this. What does this look like for you? And in that time, you also have access to your coaches as well as the rest of the group in an app we call Voxer, just a little voice memo app. So there's, connection outside of the meetings. So that's one thing. The second product we're getting ready to roll out in the very near future is a much more high level, high commitment, high touch thing. It's maybe for someone that's ready to really take their church to the next level. And it's a mastermind, which is different than group coaching. We can get into that later, what the difference between that is. But we're getting ready to launch our small church pastors mastermind. And this is going to be limited to 10 to 12 pastors that really want to come together. It's going to meet every single week, and you are the agenda. If you've got, specific questions, challenges, whatever you're facing right now in ministry, in your personal life, in your, financial life, this is a place where we're going to go deep into that. And we are 100% committed to your success in every one of those arenas, and we're going to help you get further down the road. So we're excited about that. We'll be rolling that out, Lord willing, within the next month and a half or so. And then we've got a couple other kind of specialty coaching packages. I'll let Travis explain what those are about.
Yeah, so one just started up a couple months ago. It's called Digital Discipleship Coaching, which is all about how to take your message, how to take that Sunday morning message and really use it throughout the week to better connect with your congregation and your community. I think it's a wonderful thing. We know that we've sort of been moving in this direction, some of us more slowly than others, into this idea of like sort of hybrid church and how do we do church online and all those things. And so some of that's overwhelming because we probably didn't learn that in school and college and seminary and all these places. They're not teaching us how to use social media and how to do all these things. And so I think it's a 4-week course. And again, that's sort of always changing and adapting and stuff. But currently, I believe that's what that looks like. And so it teaches you how to do all that stuff, how to use your message, connect with people better online and digitally. So that's a wonderful thing. And then there's also coaching for like hospitality and guest services, which I believe is a wonderful thing. I think if you're going to start somewhere, that may be the place that you want to start because it's such an important thing about the first impression that we leave for people guests who are coming into our churches. And so that's another avenue of coaching as well that happens throughout the year that 95 Network provides.
I've told the story before, but it's talking about hospitality and things like that. When David and I first got married, we were looking for a church, and, being a pastor's kid, I'd never really had to look for a church before. This was my first experience doing that. And David, my husband, had grown up going to wherever his parents were, So as we were looking for a church, we didn't really know what we were doing, but we knew that we wanted to feel welcome and we wanted to feel connected. And the church that we ended up at, where we are now, for the last 5 or 6 years, they just welcomed us. People actually talked to us. People actually reached out after, the first Sunday that we were there and made sure that we were connected to somebody. And that made all the difference for us. So I think that is a great place to start. It certainly was the difference between, for us where we landed eventually.
Absolutely.
So
one of the things I love about our coaching that we offer at 95 Network is we have a number of coaches on our team that come from different like specialties, different backgrounds, that sort of thing. So we really can get you the help that you need in most any area that you find yourself struggling with. We've got coaches that have pastored small rural churches. We've got coaches that have pastored a little bit larger churches. We've got pastors that have been in more of an urban context, or city context versus country. Like, we can help you. We've got people who understand your context of ministry and can help. And even in some of those specialized things, like you're talking about the hospitality and the digital discipleship. So we're excited about the coaching that is available for pastors here at 95 Network.
One of the big things that also the hospitality that coaching focused on too is volunteer culture and volunteer environment. And so I know that's a big deal right now because it's been it's always been sort of hard to get volunteers, but even now it seems like it's even harder to find volunteers, and a lot of that, pretty much all of that, goes back to your volunteer culture that you're setting. And so through that coaching, you'll learn how to create a great volunteer culture, be able to recruit volunteers and be able to keep volunteers. And so that's another thing that they focus on as well.
That's great. Talking about coaching and everything that we offer, if you're a pastor listening right now and you're thinking about this, why would a pastor consider working with a coach? What would be the benefits, I think, of reaching out and, receiving some coaching?
Can I jump in real quick?
Yep.
And just say, and I think I can say this because I've been an executive pastor. I've never been the lead guy. And so, John, this may be picking on you a little bit. I want to say why I think pastors hesitate to get a coach sometimes, because I believe lead pastors can be a little prideful and a little bit of know-it-all sometimes. And because it's, they're the guy on stage or the woman on stage, and they're, people are listening to them, they have a message each and every week, and they're not used to listening to somebody else. And so I think, and I should put myself in this a little bit too, like we could have a little bit of narcissism in us. I'm guilty of that as well. And so it's like, I don't need somebody else to tell me something, like I already know this stuff. And so I think I think that's some of the reasons that we don't do it. But if we can sort of get over ourselves and beyond ourselves and humble ourselves a little bit and realize, you know what, we don't know it all. And there are people who've been through things that we haven't been through yet, and that we can learn from, and we can benefit from, and it would make a world of difference within our own lives. And so I just want to throw that out there too.
Well, give me just a second, if you would, Carolee, to dust myself off from that slam that Travis called me a prideful narcissist and all that. No, I want to go down that road even further and say this. That's true. If what we said earlier is true, that pastors tend to be living out kind of in isolation, kind of in this little bubble, and then you add that to what Travis just said, they're also in a place where, yeah, most of the people are coming to them. They're the ones directing much of the overall direction of the church and calling the shots, and people are coming to them asking for help. It can put a pastor in a place of this false sense of, I've got it all figured out, I don't need help, which is really a dangerous place to be for many, many reasons. So actually, I'm going to accept what Travis said and say, yeah, that's true. Sometimes that leads to our own downfall. And I'm not even just talking like major moral failure, some of the extreme examples. I'm just talking about the reality of, we're not leading at our best. We're not leveling up. So back to your original question, Carolee, why should a pastor consider hiring a coach? I would just point to the world of whether it's sports or any other arena where someone is functioning at a professional high level. So for instance, let's just go to sports. Show me any athlete that is at the top of his or her game. And what I can guarantee you is that athlete has one, if not multiple, coaches that are speaking into various areas of their performance and their industry, right? Because they recognize, top performers, high achievers recognize the value of having a coach. A coach can see things that you can't see. A coach can believe in you when you're not believing in yourself, and can call the best out in you when you're not feeling the best, which is like every Monday morning for most pastors. And what a powerful thing it is to have a coach going, I see you. I know it's Monday. I know yesterday was rough. I still see God's hand upon your life and his call upon you. Let's get back in the fight. A coach can see things you can't see. A coach can get in your grill sometimes when you need someone, just to have that, speak the truth to me, man. Don't sugarcoat it because I'm your pastor or I'm your boss. Like, tell me like it is. Tell me the truth. And so coaching can expedite things so much quicker to get results faster than you would if you just kind of tried to walk on your own. That's why professionals hire coaches, because they help them stay at that peak performance, and they get there faster and they stay there longer when they've got coaches speaking into their life. So
I wanted to make a note on that too. I think that coaching doesn't have to be for people who are just at rock bottom, and dealing with a lot of unhealth or, not health. Sorry, I've got my words mixed up. Not a healthy church. It can be for a healthy church as well. I mean, like you were just talking about your example. I mean, a basketball player doesn't have to be unhealthy to reach out for coaching. This is for everybody.
I would contend it's your healthier pastors or leaders are the ones that are actually geared toward hiring a coach. The people who hire me to work with me as a coach generally are not needy, broken, down in the dumps type people. They are high achieving people. They want to get to the next level. They recognize the value in investing into their own leadership and into their own future. And you're right. So it's not for people that are just at rock bottom. I would contend if you're at rock bottom, we need to get you to a counselor, not so much a coach. There is a difference between the two.
That was actually my next question. Great lead in, John. What is the difference between coaching and counseling?
Yeah. So I think it really is the focus of their direction. Here's a really simple way of saying it. I think counselors, for the most part, look in the rearview mirror, which is important, by the way. Like, there are times in our journey where we do need someone to take us into the past. We need to peel back some layers. We need to go to the place of that wound and let the Holy Spirit bring his healing into that part of our life. So I'm not minimizing counseling at all, but coaching is more of a forward-focused thing. A coach is really looking out into the future. Where are we going, and what can we do to help you get there? Now, there is overlap between the two. There are times that a good counselor will help someone look forward. Where are you trying to get? And there's times a good coach will help someone look backwards, because again, our past does matter. We do need to understand where we came from and how that's affecting us today. So both are important. I'm not minimizing the role of a good counselor, but I would have told you this for years, Carolee. I said to my wife and anyone that would listen, I said, I hate counseling, like as a pastor, and people would come to me for counseling, and I hated it because I didn't feel like I was gifted at that. I felt like I was always kind of like a fish out of water, trying to tell me about your mother, tell me about your dad. Let's go back to this place. And again, I'm not minimizing those powerful conversations, but where I really found myself lighting up is, where do you want to go? What's your dream? How can I help you get to where you're desiring? So it took me hiring my own coach for that coach to help me see, Jon, you're a coach. You've been coaching people for years and you love doing that. You're not a great counselor. That's not your gift. You're not trained in that. That's why it's draining to you. You're a coach, and there is a difference.
Yeah. And it's good that you recognize what your gifts are, because there's other people who are great at counseling.
Absolutely. And I've been to those people, by the way. And so again, I want to just double down on this. This is not saying a pastor should not seek counseling.
Absolutely.
I spent several years in counseling for myself and my wife with just different issues on things that we needed help with. We're stuck on stuff, and it's helpful. It's worth every bit that we invested into that as well. So they're both important.
Yeah, I think sometimes before you can move forward, like you can't move forward until you deal with some of that baggage in your past.
Right.
And so sometimes the things that are holding us back are those things in our past, and we have to go back and deal with that.
Sure.
And then we can focus on coaching in the future and all that type of stuff.
I've heard Dale say it a million times. Unhealthy pastors create unhealthy churches. So you're right. Definitely got to work through some of that stuff. I'm going to put you guys on the spot.
Yes.
But talking about coaching, I want each of you guys to give me a good example or a great story that has always stuck out in your mind about maybe a success story that you've seen happen through coaching.
Yeah, I'll go first. And it's similar, but it's a little bit different. It's from a consulting standpoint. And I'll say this, I think in most cases, pretty much every case I've ever heard of, no one's ever said like, everybody's always saying, I wish I wouldn't have waited so long to get a coach or to bring this person in. Like they're kicking themselves because they did wait so long. So for us as a church, we brought in a consultant years ago who helped us see things that we couldn't see. And one of the big things was how we were doing our setting up our offering time and taking up our tithes and offerings within our church. We always did it at the end of service. It was kind of like, hey, as you leave today, drop your offerings in the bucket and stuff. And it was this consultant that said, hey, you're sort of setting up, you're not even really doing much of a setup. You're like treating it like it's not that important. And because you're treating it like it's not important, people are viewing it that it's not important. You should put that in the middle. You should treat it as an act of worship, because that's what it is. And so you need to move that within in the middle of your worship service and be more intentional about that time. And it was like, we've been doing it the same way for years, and it had never clicked to us and registered to us that, of what we were missing out on and what we're doing. And that one change of just moving when we talked about how we talked about it, and then moving when we took up our offering during the service, made a massive difference. I don't think I would be exaggerating to say it's probably tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars of difference, because we've made that change 10 years ago or whenever it was. But because we get used to seeing things and get used to how we've always done things, like we couldn't see it ourselves. It took bringing somebody from the outside in to help us see it.
That's so good. I've got a lot of different stories that come to mind, and I'll maybe share two that come from a specific category, because this will be of interest to pastors. Because again, I've helped clients with physical fitness, losing weight, getting into shape, helping improve their financial status with different things. But I'm going to go to an area of church leadership. One of the very first clients that ever worked with me in my mastermind for pastors was talking about the leadership structure at their church and how frustrating deacons meetings were, because how it worked for years was they'd come to the deacons meetings and all the guys would go around and talk about what they thought needed to happen in the church and blah, blah, blah. And he said, by the time it gets to me and it's my turn to talk, we're already 90 minutes into the meeting and people are bored and ready to go home. And that one simple conversation where I get that outside objective look And I said, why in the world are you the last guy to talk at a deacons meeting? Like, what about you going in and leading your deacons and saying, guys, here's what we're doing in our meeting today? It was a profound insight to him. Now, I don't say that to make light of it. Again, it's like Travis was saying, it's that you're so close to it, you don't see it. You bring a coach alongside of you, and within just a matter of weeks, the culture, the leadership culture in his church began to shift, because he started to show up as a leader. And instead of accepting this long-held narrative in this very traditional church of how things go, he started actually leading. And they started to see tremendous progress in their church, where things used to be super frustrating. All of a sudden, we're starting to get progress and breakthrough. And certainly he gets the credit for that. He was the one who did the work and did the leading, but he had a coach that helped him see that and helped him have that insight. And then again, I don't want to share too many details, because some of the stuff that I do with pastors when they're dealing with their church leadership stuff, there's tension there, there's conflict. But I can think of another person I'm working with right now to help their church completely overhaul these archaic bylaws systems and just this outdated, unhealthy, unbiblical, toxic way of doing church. We've got now a good leader in a bad system, and this leader's working with the coach to overhaul that system. And I'm seeing him have progress that he never would have if he was trying to muddle his way through it. Part of it is just coming back on a regular basis for encouragement. You can do this, keep going, because if just left to his own, he's going to chicken out. He's going to go, I don't know if I should do that. He's got a coach behind him, pushing him forward, saying, you can do this. And we're overhauling a toxic church through a good leader, the right guy in an unhealthy spot, but he's got a coach working with him. And I think that church is getting ready to see massive transformation as he continues to do the work. So I've got lots of stories like that I could share, but those are just two that pop into my mind right off the top of my head there.
That's great. What I feel like I'm hearing you guys say a lot is the power of outside eyes. I think it was Michael Moore we interviewed just not too long ago, but he said, I'm going to get this wrong, I hope I don't. If you want to know what water tastes like, don't ask a fish. Because, I think you're all right. You get so ingrained into what has always been that it's hard to see what could be. And a pair of outside eyes is just so important for that. And then also just support, like Jon, you were saying. I mean, sometimes this stuff is intimidating and hard and exhausting, and to have somebody there that can shoulder that burden, I know is imperative. So that's great. I also, Jon, I heard you say something about your mastermind class, and I kind of wanted to wheel back around to that. What is the main difference between group coaching and the new mastermind groups?
Yeah, those two terms get kind of used interchangeably sometimes, but there is a very real distinction between them. Group coaching is really what we do with our growth engines. Group coaching is this idea where a group comes together, and really there's one or a few coaches speaking into the group. So it's more listening on the part of the group, more talking on the part of the coach. Again, good coaching is still always asking questions and trying to help bring clarity through powerful questions. So I don't want to paint a picture where it's like the coach is just doing all this talking and teaching and never listening. But a mastermind is something very different. A mastermind is a principle. It was really kind of modernized, I guess you'd say, in like maybe the 1930s. A guy who really put that term on the map, his name is Napoleon Hill. He wrote the book Think and Grow Rich. But the principle of masterminds has been around for a very long time. It's this idea that it is a small group. You could almost define it like this. A mastermind is like your own personal board of advisors, where every one of those people is 100% committed to your success. So it's a group of people coming together, and it's not just one guru that we're all coming to hear from. It is the collective power of our combined experience and wisdom and knowledge and resources and network and relationships. We bring all of that to bear as a small group, and we're together for an extended period of time as well. This isn't a short thing. We're doing life together over an extended period of time, so that when you come up before the group, Carolee, and it's your turn on the hot seat, and you say, man, I'm struggling to think of how I should approach this or what the strategy would be for this. You've got multiple people from different angles looking into your situation and into your life and going, well, what if you did this? Have you thought about that? I know somebody who you need to talk to over here that can help you break through that. Hey, here's a book that I read, and you're getting this in such a short period of time. You're getting new ideas, new insight, and then just that supportive community to move forward. So a mastermind is a really, we could look at people like Benjamin Franklin. History tells us that he had a small group of people around him like that. And out of that came many of the modern inventions that we have today. There was a group that C.S. Lewis and J.R. Tolkien, these guys were in, called the Inklings. And it was that type of a mastermind principle where this group is together. And I mean, again, they produce literary works out of there that have changed the world in some ways. So again, it's Henry Ford, some of the industrial giants of the Industrial Revolution surrounded themselves with this type of a principle. So a mastermind is different than a group coaching thing where we're all kind of coming to hear the one coach. A mastermind is I'm bringing something of value, and it's expected of me that this will be shared. That's why, by the way, any mastermind that I do, including the one that we're going to be launching here through 95 Network, it's by application only. You can't just automatically say, I'm going to be in that. Like, no, we're going to say whether you're in that or not, because we want to make sure it's a good fit and make sure that you're bringing something to the table as well, because you're going to be getting a whole lot in return. So hopefully that explains it.
What does that look like in a practical sense? Is this a Zoom call? Is this an in-person meeting? Do you set up a mastermind group that's like a group of local people that can actually get together in person? How does that work?
It can look like any of those things. For our context, it's Zoom. We'll meet every single week via Zoom. And I'm not ruling out that there couldn't be at some point a physical meetup, where we get together as a group. I've been a part of several different masterminds that they do that a few times throughout the year. In addition to our weekly Zoom calls, we meet in person, and man, those are amazing times. Yeah. Those are times of really going deep in relationship, not with any formal content or formal structure. It's just hanging out together over a meal, over an activity, something recreational. So we don't have anything in the works yet planned for 95 Networks Mastermind, but give us time and that's going to happen. That'll be a reality.
That's exciting.
We're going to go do something. We'll go jump out of an airplane together. We'll with a parachute. We'll go hunting. We'll go fishing. We'll do something fun. So
yeah,
I can tell you what I'm not going to do. Yeah, I'm not jumping out of an airplane either.
All right, well then you're not in a mastermind. It's just that simple.
No, you're not talking to me that.
Actually, that kind of reminded me about another question, kind of going back to group coaching. What does group coaching also look like in a practical sense? Is this an in-person meeting? Does the coach come to you? Do you meet, do a Zoom call with the coach? What does that look like just in general?
Yeah, currently for our group coaching that we're doing, and we've done it for about a year now, we've had different groups kind of go through the process, and it's through Zoom. So it's a once a month meeting through Zoom. What they'll do, they'll have homework basically beforehand, where they'll watch a video, which Dale Sellers, he normally is the one leading on the video, where he's talking through discipleship pathway or volunteer culture or mission and vision and what that looks like. And they have a handout that as they're watching the video, they have a handout where they're, writing in answers and writing notes. And so when we get back together on the Zoom call during that month, the facilitator, whoever it may be, the coach, they're going to be asking questions related to that. So, who has a discipleship path? What does it look like? What are some steps that you're taking? What is your mission? Do you have a mission statement? Do you have a vision for the next few years? And so we're asking those type of questions. And so that's a once a month meeting. And then between those times, like I said, there's the video and homework. There's also, like Jon said earlier, there's that Boxer account where if they do have a question, whether it's to do with sort of the topic of the month, or if it's even something else going on within their church, they have that opportunity to contact and leave a memo in that coaching group, in that Boxer group, where the coach can speak into, or the other members of the group can speak into. And so we're learning from one another through that as well. And so that's what that's looked like so far.
Okay. That's
Travis,
great.
I don't know if you've had this experience or not. And Carolee, I'm so glad you asked this question, because I wouldn't have thought to paint this picture of what this looks like for people so they kind of have an idea. I don't know if you've experienced this or not, Travis, but within that Voxer, that voice memo app there, I've carried on long conversations with some of the clients that have come through our 95 Network Growth Engines program. So not only do they have access to the group, but then, they may just hit me up individually in Voxer, and we'll carry on a conversation back and forth over, the better part of a day, just me speaking into their very specific situation. So I don't want to overpromise that if you choose that you're going to get all this focused attention, but there's a very good chance you will from your coach. Because again, we want you to succeed. We want you to do well. And so, yeah, it's a great tool just to stay connected and then to see the relationships. One thing I love too is when we see the relationships between the group, start to take off, where all of a sudden a friendship is developing here between two pastors that didn't know each other prior to meeting in this group, but now there's kind of that camaraderie and that bond there. And so that's really cool to see those friendships take off out of there as well.
Yeah, and they can share resources as well. And we've seen that, if they say, hey, I have a leadership pathway or discipleship pathway, and they say, well, can you send me that? Can you send me what that looks like? Or, what does your leadership development process look like? Do you have that written down? Can you send that to me? And so we've seen, of course, our coaches will help in that too, but even amongst group members, they're sharing sort of different resources and different ideas that it's making everybody better.
Yeah. And there's a few surprises in there as well. Nothing like intentionally planned, but there's some other resources that we give to our clients that come through. It's this idea of, under promising and over delivering. We want them to walk away from it going, I got more than my money's worth as a result of this. And that's what good coaching should look like anyway.
Right. Yeah. Now, does coaching start with a vision day, or is that an option, or is that what people typically do is, have a vision day first and then go forward with coaching, or are those two separate things? That
is a great question. And the answer is no, you don't have to start with a vision day to then move into coaching. We'll take you right as you are. You can just jump into one of our programs if it's a good fit for you. But here's what I would say, Carolee, I'm so glad you brought up the vision day. If you invest, and it's a great investment to bring 95 Network in to do a vision day. If you make that investment,
and maybe just tell everybody what a vision day is too.
Well, why don't you tell everyone what a vision day is? Then I'm going to drop this powerful line. So I'll hold the power. Will you explain a vision day? And then I'll bring it. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, Travis, can you take that one?
Vision day is a day where you're going to bring a facilitator in, somebody like Adele Sellers or John Sanders, or maybe one of our other people on our team that can lead Vision Day, and they'll come in and they'll help sort of look back at the church's history, and they'll sort of look forward and help you look forward and say, okay, what's God speaking to you? What is your mission? Maybe we need to be reminded of that. Or what's the vision? And then you start sort of building out a strategy for how to accomplish the vision that God's given that specific church. And they help walk you through that process. And so I believe it's normally a one-day process for 6-8 hours. You bring your team in and they'll lead you through that. And so it's an incredible thing. And you get basically an outline of a playbook of, okay, here's where we're going, and here's what we need to accomplish that. That's what you get from Vision Day.
Yeah, thank you, Travis. I feel like you did a much better job than I would have at that.
You did good, Travis. You did good. Sorry to put you on the spot, Carolee. I just wanted to see how you did when I turned the question back on you. So.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Hey, but what I would say to this Vision Day, it's a strategic planning process that really brings you down to a few action steps moving forward, and the people defined as the ones overseeing that part of the project, whatever it may be. And it's not, hey, we're going to come in and load up the pastor with a bunch of more to-do stuff. But here's where the coaching thing plugs in. If you make that investment to have 95 Network come in and do a Vision Day, you should hire a coach to follow up with that, to say, man, walk beside me for the next year, because we've already made this investment and this incredible thing took place on this one day. If you're not careful, you're going to it'll be very easy for things just to kind of go back to where they were. If you have a 95 Network coach to come alongside you and go, okay, now we have a vision. We've got people on the team that have been assigned the various roles. I'm going to be checking in with you on a very consistent basis. How are we doing on that? So that vision that we came up with actually becomes a reality. Right. So back to your thing. You don't have to have had a Vision Day at your church to get into our coaching, but if you have a Vision Day, you absolutely should get into our coaching. Like those two go together like peanut butter and jelly.
Yeah, I've had a vision to get in the best shape of my life for about 5 years now. It has not happened. Because again,
but if you had a coach,
if I had a coach, if I had somebody to hold me accountable, somebody to encourage me, I would be more likely to accomplish it.
Yeah. Well, guys, we are pretty much out of time, but I have enjoyed this so much. As we wrap up, we always love to ask our guests just to give a word of advice or hope or encouragement to our listeners today. And I would love to hear what you guys have to say about that.
Yeah, I'll jump in first because Jon's going to say something really great to end the podcast. I just know he is. But I'll say, if you've been thinking about coaching and you've just been wondering whether you should pull the trigger or not, whether it's the right time or not, I would say don't delay. You will not regret it. Whatever avenue it is, whether it's through 95 Network, whether it's through the 6-month coaching program, or maybe it's even within some of the other avenues that 95 Network offers, digital discipleship, the volunteer and hospitality, or it's this new mastermind that's about to start. I would just say it's going to be worth the investment. It always is. What you're doing when you're waiting is you're just prolonging, you're not accomplishing anything. And so don't wait. Make sure to take advantage of it and get yourself coached.
That was really good, Travis.
Thanks.
Now I feel like I have pressure to outdo that.
You got it.
If I can outdo it, I'm going to go in just a different direction, and I'm going to make this simple statement. Pastor, I do want to encourage you, but I'm going to encourage you like a coach. Are you ready? Isolation is a choice. If you feel lonely, if you feel isolated, that is a choice, and you can choose not to be in that place. And one great way to do that is to invest in a coach that will walk beside you, or get in a group where you've got multiple people walking beside you and you're not lonely anymore. You're not isolated anymore. You've got a great team of people who are for you. They are for the kingdom. They are for the gospel going forward in your church, and you will thrive. You will thrive in the best way from that kind of environment. So if you want to stay lonely, that's your choice, but you can choose a better option. And I would encourage you to do just that.
That's great. Thank you guys so much. I just feel always so encouraged talking to any member of our team about what the future looks like for 95 Network, but especially what the future looks like for pastors. I want to see a future of hope and encouragement and strength and all good things. So thank you guys for what you're doing. And thanks for being with me today and talking.
Thanks, Carolee. It's been fun.
Thanks for listening to the 95 Podcast. We look forward to sharing another episode with you next week. In the meantime, visit our website at 95network.org. The website is loaded with great resources created for small and mid-sized church leaders. Until next time, have a great week.